I have been following Stellar XLM almost all year long because we have been watching as the tokenization boom around the ecosystem of Stellar explodes. And on top of that, the entire ecosystem has been expanding rapidly, and the price action today is looking pretty damn good. We are over 40 cents right now. The main thing that we have been addressing over the last couple weeks is simply the rebound in price action that XLM will experience, and we're starting to see that. Now, the entire market has been heating up, and although, yeah, we could still see a potential pullback into like the mid 30-cent region once again before we officially break out, I think that it's pretty obvious right now that the price action on XLM is looking pretty bullish. The main thing that we are focused on is structure, right? Over the last couple weeks, I don't know if you guys have been watching my other videos, but the main thing that I have been stressing, even with Bitcoin, is just focusing on structure. We want to see higher lows. We want to see higher highs. That's how we get into bullish structure. And even when looking at the 3-day view on XLM, we have our higher lows going all the way back to September 1st, and we just created a higher high on the 3-day candle close. Looking at this on the daily, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit different, right? On the daily, we do have a lower low in terms of daily candle closes. However, we still have a higher high, and then we also have a higher low going off of this recent low in September. So regardless of higher time frame structure or even lower time frame structure, we are still looking at this in a very, very bullish way. Now, the main reason why I said that we could see a mid 30-cent region retest is because we do have a fair value gap here as well, right around like 37.5, almost to like 39 cents. So if we do tap this once again right before we have that big liftoff, I'm totally fine with that because again, it will reset RSI and then we'll have a retest of this resistance zone where we potentially break over it, target the next key area, retest this resistance, flip it into support, and then we break to the next big demand zone, which will be up here within like the 42, it's like 45 to like 50 cent region. And the reason why we are looking at that being the next major stopping point is because looking at the 3-day view real quick, and let me just clear this up 1 second. When we are looking at this real quick on the 3-day view, the last major level that we need to break here before we see this big push is the level in which we just tapped around like 41.5 cents. The second that we break this, we will retest all of this resistance up here. This resistance goes all the way back here to January of this year, and this is right around 45 to almost 50 cents. Now, if we manage to get a 3-day candle close over that 50 cent target, we will target the highs going all the way back to December and November around 56 cents. And that's the last major stopping point before we retest not the 2021 highs, but we go to the 2017-2018 all-time highs at around 93.5 cents. Now, yes, we still need to be aware of those 2021 highs because before we get to the all-time high level, we still need to clear like 68.5 cents and almost 80 cents because this is all where resistance will lie going all the way back to that time period. But this is a very good start for XLM. And, a lot of this has just been consolidation. Regardless of bullish structure or not, we have just been consolidating in this downtrend, waiting for something to happen where we start to kind of turn to the upside. And I do think that we will most likely kind of follow this structure where we do continue to the upside and really kind of break back to the upside. Very similar to what happened back here in, this is going back to like the highs of November all the way to the lows of even April where the market did bottom out. Then we also created a higher low going all the way back here to like June, almost July. And then we start to rebound in a big way. It's kind of very similar here, but it's a little bit on a lower time frame structure because this was in a span of, let's go and look back on how long this was. So this was in a span of like 200 plus days. Currently, we've just been consolidating for about 81 days. So it's a little bit lower time frame wise, but regardless, it's a very similar structure where we are in a downtrend, we're chopping, we're consolidating, and now we're creating higher lows and we're starting to create higher highs, which means, guess what? XLM is going to continue higher from this point on, or at least it should, going off of structure. Now, what's a few things that can support that? Well, it's ecosystem growth, it's major adoption happening, and it's also recognition of Stellar. And recently, we just got a big update from Range.org, which, by the way, this is not a massive platform. They have about 5,000 followers. However, this did get 28,000 views. So a lot of people are looking into what's happening around stablecoins. And essentially, this just gave us an update on what's happening with USDC, aka Circle, on Stellar. Stellar processes 250,000 plus USDC transfers every single day. But where does that volume come from and who's behind it? Check out the insights from our latest stablecoin on-chain research series. Now, looking into this, our latest research dives into USDC usage on Stellar over a full year. 91.3 million transactions, 17.9 billion volume, average transaction size about $196, almost $200. The median was about $1.57. The data reveals two distinct patterns. Similar to CCTP, microtransactions dominate by count. A small group of wallets drives most of the value. Just 0.1% of transactions on Stellar account for 64.5% of USDC volume versus 70.8% for USDC moving across CCTP. And we can see that here, USDC volume and transaction distribution by size category as well. And then down here, we have the transaction activity aligns with EMEA business hours, but volume peaks occur at 7 a.m. UTC, aligning only with East Asia. The wallets moving size aren't the same as the ones driving transaction count either. And while transaction counts remain steady throughout the week, volume drops 4.6 times on weekends. That's a strong indicator of institutional flows using Stellar for settlements. Stellar's infrastructure supports both low-value micropayments and high-value transfers on the same rails. This operational duality is rare and visible directly in on-chain data. So yeah, the main thing that we're looking at here is who's using Stellar for these transactions. And this is a strong indicator that we have institutional-grade flows using Stellar for settlements around stablecoins. Stablecoin usage this year has started to boom in a big way. And some of these networks like Stellar that are extremely efficient for microtransactions or even higher value payments, they are starting to lead in terms of growth and value movement. And then we also mix in tokenization, right? Tokenization has been booming in a huge way. We just surged over $33+ billion. We're up about 13.3% in the last 30 days. We could see on this chart just how significant the value has been growing. And then also on top of that, public networks, right? So this is those public networks in terms of the global market overview. This includes protocols as well that, just some of these platforms are not tradable. This is public networks in the space that we can invest into. Looking at this, the total RWA value is up 14.2%. We're closing in on $20 billion. And across the board, we are seeing significant growth outside of course, the stablecoin 30-day transfer volume, but everything else is up in a big way. This is very exciting to see. Now, when it comes to Stellar, especially for stablecoin value growth, we're going to get to the RWA value as well because that's up in a big way. But stablecoin market cap is up about almost 9%. We're crossing $250 million. Stablecoin holders are up about 3.4%. We're almost at 560,000 holders. And then also in terms of RWA value, up 20+% in the last 30 days. We're crossing $640 million. That is coming from Franklin Templeton. Yes, we did see a big spike from Franklin on-chain U.S. government money fund. That just crossed $600 million for the first time in history. We love to see that. We could see that is up about 21% in the last 30 days. But even USDC crossed almost $30 million. That's up about 9.5%. Beyond that, there's some growth happening across the board, which we love around Stellar to see as well. But again, this is showing us that the stablecoin and even the tokenization boom on Stellar is growing in a huge way. Now, one thing that we're looking at here with Stellar is still things to be added, right? One thing that we are watching for is real estate. Real estate is going to be added to Stellar in a huge way very soon. Now, real estate is very interesting because when it comes to the real estate market, it's a huge global market. It's in the hundreds of trillions of dollars. That's just now starting to get tokenized. It's very similar to stocks, right? Like stocks just crossed $1+ billion This is up 215% in the last 30 days. I mean, tokenized stocks have been booming huge. But what about real estate? Well, real estate is about to hit this space in a huge way as well. And Stellar is becoming a leader in that space currently too, which we love to see. Here we have from Robinhood's CEO, Vlad Tenev, during Bloomberg interview, real estate tokenization is a freight train. We figured out how to do it, just waiting for regulations. Trillions incoming. Check this out.
And I think real estate's a big opportunity. I think it's smart that they're aggressively pursuing that because everyone wants access to high quality real estate, particularly the mass market.
But isn't it true real estate is actually more complex? I mean, they tried this before. It hasn't really worked.
It has some similarities to a private company, actually. If you think about what a real estate investment looks like, you create a corporation. Using that corporation, you acquire some assets. It has some costs, which you want to minimize as much as possible. Maintenance. It has revenues like rent, receivables, or depending on how you use it. So if you can tokenize a private company, that same technology can actually be used to tokenize real estate, be it residential, commercial. And yeah, I think we figured out how to do it. It's just a question of regulation and what the right products are for different groups of customers.
Yeah, when we are starting to hear these types of conversations from players like Vlad Tenev, this tells us exactly what's about to hit tokenization. And in terms of the actual market itself, like tokenization is going to be the next big thing that these TradFi guys figure out. We've been talking about it for years and years and years. Now they are all jumping on board. This is a freight train, and it's going to lead to trillions and trillions of dollars hitting this market. These types of networks that we talk about, like Stellar or even XRP or even HBAR, these are the assets that will be worth massive amounts of money because, again, that amount of money hitting these types of networks is going to create demand for the underlying gas token. Every transaction, everything moving over that network, it all requires the gas token. And then also, Stellar is already prepared for this, right? We have here from Stellar. Stellar and Red Swan Digital aren't waiting. Yeah, they're already moving because we have over here, it's official, and this happened at Meridian, by the way. We have built on Stellar to tokenize $100 million in commercial real estate assets, giving access to a wider global investor base, unlocking real estate investing through blockchain. This was a huge update from Meridian, and we were already following Red Swan for a while because they are also working with Hedera. But what's crazy about this is, Stellar right now has been moving up the list. They're number 8 on this list currently with $641 million tied back to them. What if I told you that Stellar announced at Meridian $3 billion worth of initiatives? That's right, $3 billion worth of initiatives. That would immediately skyrocket XLM into the number 2 spot on this list. This is from Meridian. You guys probably already know this video clip, but listen closely to what Danielle Dixon is telling us. Real-world assets are the gateway for everyday financial services on-chain. During Meridian 2025, SDF announced access to more than $3 billion in RWAs on Stellar from issuers like PayPal, Ondo, Mercado Bitcoin, Centrifuge, and Red Swan. Check it out.
So I would think about it as less about one, for example, asset that's issued. And I would think about it from this standpoint. We just at Meridian have announced access to over $3 billion worth of real world assets on Stellar. So there's lots of issuers, PYUSD, Ondo, Mercado Bitcoin, Centrifuge. There's a lot of them that have come into play. Red Swan doing tokenized real estate. So think about it more as, why is that so crucial? It's because assets are the first way to be able to get to those everyday financial services. And if you want to know, like, the real thing that matters to me, it's those everyday financial services. I'm going to keep hammering that every single day. You need credit. You need the ability to have lending. You need to have borrowing. You need to have the ability to be able to send value. That is what we need. And to get there, we need these different assets. And to see that access now is really cool.
And that's the difference between Stellar and all of these other networks. We are starting to see more and more increased adoption happening around the Stellar ecosystem. And it's only a matter of time until we start to see the value's really booming in a big way. If you think that Stellar is growing now significantly because we have a 20% gain on RWA value or even a 9% gain on stablecoin market cap, that is just the beginning. Stellar continues to announce these huge initiatives while most people are just not paying attention. This is also why I keep saying that XLM is going to shock a lot of people once it starts to really break out. Right now, we're starting to round the bottom on this chart. It is showing signs that this thing is about to break out in a huge way to the upside as well. And this is at a time where, just like I said, almost no one is paying attention. So now is the best time to lock in and focus up because XLM is going to surprise a lot of people in the coming weeks. So with that being said,